Welcome back to the Stormcast, everyone. This is the podcast where we talk all things TABC sports. My name is Eli Hochberg, and here on the podcast, we are all sick. I'm sick. Oren has the flu. We're struggling through. We have a lot to talk about. Oren, how you doing?
Like the majority of the teams in the body, I am sick. Um, Listen, I think we're fortunate that it's Wednesday while we're recording this, and hopefully a lot can happen in the next few days where we all drink lots of fluids and get lots of sleep. And maybe it's a blessing in disguise now that we're sick because instead nobody will do anything too crazy over porn.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully.
As you can hear, I'm also.
We're gonna get a lot of coughs in on this show.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had a jam-packed week of TABC sports. Just to give a quick rundown before we get into the details. Some good, some bad, mostly bad, unfortunately. We previewed JV hockey in the ship. Unfortunately, they lost in devastating fashion. I think we were all heartbroken after that loss. I just want to shout out the whole team before we get into the details there. They played their hearts out, and wow, what a game it was. I don't think, just like the Mag and DRS game that we talked about, the semifinal game that we briefly, I don't know if we talked about, it was an incredible game. Like, of course, the result was it was unfortunate, but you have to recognize that the game was probably one of the best most competitive games I've watched. Ice hockey lost in the championship. Shout out Arya Zikowicz. We're not going to harp too much on that.
Wasn't much of a game, unfortunately.
Yeah. Varsity basketball preview. TBC DRS. We're looking for revenge. Let's see. And first spring sports game of the year was tonight. So let's start it off with JV hockey. This was, of course, very sad. Sunday. Just for a quick review. Sunday, we had a pretty good pick considering the whole school was sick, and we had
That was like
limited
the
tickets.
first day that the flu was sweeping across the school, right?
Yeah, first day, and like then it was like Bill was sick and a few other people were sick.
I mean,
So
I was out sick all of last week, but I still didn't have my voice. I still kind of
yeah,
felt sick.
I heard
On
Bill Allen was
Sunday or
back in
whatever.
school today.
yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
he
I
was
saw him
back.
in
So
school
that must
today. Yeah,
mean that it's not such a long recovery process.
yeah, of course. Yeah, so
Depends on the person. Depends on the person. But
yeah, of course. So
5 days,
game.
according to our co-producer, Noak.
Okay. We have a little bit.
That's the theme of the show, so go ahead.
we had a little bit of a rough start. Went down 2-0, but what a comeback this team made. One, it was a beautiful shot by David Kranzler. I just want to give a shout out to David Kranzler. I mean, he played like a champion, especially with all that he went through. He had no obligation to play. I don't think anyone expected it. I mean, like, if you didn't know David, you would not expect him to play, considering what he and his family just went through. Not only did he go out there, he scored a goal and probably had one of the best kills I've seen in my life. Stood there for 40 seconds in the corner, fighting off 3 DRS defenders on power play, and held the ball there for 40 seconds and kept it moving. Really incredible. And so he scored a goal. It was really off a DRS defender. Then power play, Marty Teidebaum with a beautiful shot to tie the game up. I think we all.
You know, you can mute your mic if you have to cough.
Yeah, I think we all thought we had the momentum and we're gonna win. Unfortunately, 2.6 seconds left as we're about to go to overtime. Well, it seemed that we're all unprepared, and Ethan Rogoff scored. I think we were all stunned, and I honestly, I think a lot of players on the team were crying. I just stood there for like 10 minutes in utter shock. Oren, what do you have to say about this game?
Listen, I've seen a lot of Yeshiva League hockey in my life. I think we can all agree that we've never seen anything like that before. To a point that I didn't even see the goal. There was a stoppage, and I was texting various people. Looks like overtime is coming, and then before I know it, the goal is scored in a flash. And after looking back on it on replay, listen, I think the lesson is not just in hockey, but in life in general. You always have to be prepared and expect the unexpected. I still think it was impressive the way Rogoff was able to get a shot off like that in an instant. But
And also, if you look at it, Rogoff wasn't even prepared. Like, respect it. Listen,
no, the only guys who were prepared were the ones who took the face off.
Yeah, exactly. And Rogoff is like, oh wait, ball, and just had a beautiful shot. Listen, I think it's upsetting. No one was prepared, and I think look at us on the Stormcast giving life lessons. But Listen, I think there's not much more you could do. I mean, be prepared, but like no one was prepared. Besides, literally no one, not even on DRS. DRS, Rogoff just had an incredible play there. You can't blame Saul. You can't really blame anyone. You can't blame one person without blaming 10 other people there. So I think that you can't go into blaming people. This team really played incredibly. There's not much more to say. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't have.
Saul had a pretty good game.
Yeah,
He had a great game.
Saul I thought played very well. Got a few amazing saves there.
Yeah. And speaking of sickness, it seemed to me like Catler was not at 100%.
Oh yeah, Catler and Jake I heard were throwing up during the game. So shout out to them for muscling through. This team was definitely not at 100%. And I just want to reflect this season as a whole. This team went from having to beat SAR, YDE. YDE was like a more formidable team than they were when we played them. And having to beat Rambam and MTA in order to even get to the playoffs. They did so. Then they beat Frisch in the playoffs. Not only beat them, dominated them, and then played the team they lost 4-1 to earlier in the year, and played them tough and arguably outplayed them for most of the game. So, truly an incredible season. Shout out to Jack Solomon, Nadim Catler, Jake Rubenstein, Aaron Brosnan, Martyr Teitelbaum, literally everyone. I'm just talking about players who
Listen, it was a very painful ending. I don't think anyone can rewrite that. Okay, now everyone's following protocol. No, in all seriousness, it was a painful ending. I don't think we can rewrite the ending, no matter how many times we think we can. But having said that, there was a point where we really thought that this team was going to miss out on the playoffs for the second year in a row. And they ended up completing an improbable Cinderella run all the way to the championship game. So how can you really say it was a failure of a season?
Yeah, and just one last point out here. I think
which included a 4-1 semifinal win at your arch rivals. Like that was one of the best. I would say that was one of the best TABC sports moments of the whole season among all our teams.
By the way,
Oren, I just want to say this. You're very lucky that the JV team was able to get there, because that would have not been so good for your legacy. First 2 years there,
Right.
TABC hockey team doesn't get
to
the playoffs.
The tiebreaker that it's overall wins and not head to head.
Oh yeah, by the way, remember when we thought we had to be Frisch also to get to the playoffs? Right. That would have been rough.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of confidence for next year, especially the championship game. Jack Solomon really impressed me, especially during the game. David Allen, truly a lot of players impressed me over the year, but really in the championship game especially. Any final notes you want to talk about this JV team? I think we'll do. Yeah.
No, obviously, people are going to wonder how the JV team will fare next year. I got to be honest, I'm thinking more about Varsity next year, because the Varsity did not make the playoffs 2 years ago. This Varsity team that's going to be reuniting with each other.
But they will have a Dean Catler then.
Right, they'll have Catler now. So I'm really curious to see that storyline.
And I think if you played the lines differently and whatever, that team was just a disappointment altogether. Like a lot of the games were a 3-2 loss or whatever, like tight losses. They just didn't have offense. So if you have a guy like Catler, who's an amazing goal scorer, that I think that'll really help the team make the playoffs, as well as there's just more teams that make the playoffs.
Right.
In Varsity.
Right.
So
no, that's true. It's there's not as much room for error in JV the way there is with Varsity. That's correct. And there's no point now. Marty Teitelbaum was out injured for a lot of that JV season his freshman year too.
Yeah. By the way, shout out Marty for really coming on hot in the last few games of the year. I think he had 0 goals going into the YDE game. I think he ended the year tied for the most.
Against Frisch.
I think he tied at the end of the year for most goals scored on the team.
D-Rats lead the team in goals?
D-Rats did not. I have the stat sheet on me, by the way. I can pull it up if you want. We can do a little bit more of a full stat reflection later on. But I believe, it's not loading for 1 second. I think I just got it. Most goals scored were Teitelbaum, Brothman, and Rubenstein all tied with 6. Reitersdorfer had 4. Shout out Popowitz and Zach Field for having the highest plus minus on the team. But moving on, I think to the ice hockey. We'll talk about them briefly. I was more sick yesterday than I was today, so I did not have a chance to go. Lost 9-2. Arya Zikowicz with 2 goals. And we barely talked about.
Well, actually, I looked at the box score. I think it was actually Jack Solomon and Arya Zikowicz.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't really talk that much about ice hockey this year. If you want to just talk about a little bit about the ice hockey team, give them a little.
I think it's always impressive to be a new team and join the league for the first time ever and get all the way to the championship game.
I mean,
most
volleyball almost did that last year.
Right, volleyball got to the semifinals last year for sure, with more teams in the league. Yeah.
So I just think an impressive season all around. We look forward to their continued success, hopefully in the future. I think before getting to the varsity ball preview, tonight was the opening night of spring sports. Varsity soccer played JEC. By the looks of it, I think they won.
Yeah, it was 12-1. And ironically, they were actually down first to JEC.
Oh, wow.
JEC scored their only goal. And then TABC scored 12 unanswered. I think Yoav Linder had 7 of the 12.
Oh, my gosh.
Sammy
League soccer is something else.
Sammy Levine was playing his twin, who's on JEC.
Sammy Levine against his former team.
Right. And Sammy had 2, apparently.
Very nice.
He played the game 6. I give him credit.
Yeah, so I think we'll do a more extended sports preview after the championship, maybe after Sarachek even. Sarachek's seeding came out. Again, go watch the seeding show for more extensive coverage of that. TBC is the 4 seed. They will be playing the Skokie Shiva. Yes, the Shiva in the first round.
I think that's their team name, actually.
Really? No way.
They're the
Yeah, it's yeah.
That's an awesome team name, the Shiva.
Okay, I mean, they make it their entire personality, so it makes sense for it to be their team.
It was actually for years they were not invited to the YU tournament, so yeah.
I think my entire high school career they've been.
Despite the game being a 4-13 matchup, I would not take them lightly. I've seen some of their games. They have 1 or 2 good players. They beat Ida Crown apparently, and Ida Crown seated higher in the tournament, so it should be more interesting than people think.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that more extensively after the championship game. But in the meanwhile, we have a championship game on Sunday. Joe Airy had a game-winning shot against MDY. Go listen to the Shiva League tip-off show. Very good show. I listened to it all sick yesterday. Very good episode with run by Oren and Ari Wickes. They had Joe Aaron and Ayala on for a more extensive preview. But from a TBC perspective, DRS beat us by 1. From a TBC's perspective, what will it take to win? And if you want to give us a little bit of preview on DRS, Oren.
Yeah, so I wouldn't read too much into the Memphis game. That was the game all the way back in November.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
People are still in the early season mode at that point.
As well as David Sachs and Yona Mandel combined for a donut. So
right. Oh, they were scoreless that game, right?
Yeah, that was a wild game.
Yeah, obviously people are gonna be totally focused on the Joe Aaron versus Ayal matchup, but I think it's really gonna come down to the players surrounding them more so, because people are gonna be so focused on Ayal and Joe that maybe not saying that they can't have good games, but it's the little stuff, whether it's a Ben Sion Kaiser dominating the glass or.
But both of them are going to get their numbers. It's who can the role players step up,
right? Or Michael,
like how Yona Mandel had the 8 minutes, 8 points in a minute stretch against Ramaz,
right?
A couple years ago.
So obviously we're all focused on Joe, but I would also single out Slimnicki.
Saidi.
Not sure if he's related to our Joey Slimnicki.
Saidi.
I think Svi Saidi versus Yona. That'll be something very interesting to watch.
I think that's something that Ari pointed out on the what's it called, the tip-off pod.
What was that?
I think that's something that Ari pointed out on the tip-off pod. Yona versus Saidi.
Yeah, the outside shooting of Yona versus Saidi. That'll be interesting. I think I'm also paying attention to Spodek and Sachs in terms of their ball distribution and their high IQ and not turning the ball over. And Sakinovitz on DRS, that's also someone to highlight. He's a very dangerous 3-point shooter off the bench.
Yeah, so DRS also.
It looks to me like DRS will go with a 7-man rotation and TABC will go with a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, again, so teams will keep it short for the championship game. You want your best players playing on the most opportunities, whoever's cold. probably take him out, but whatever. Hopefully no one gets into foul trouble. Again, as you mentioned, you can afford to get into foul trouble with North Shore. You can't really afford that
Right.
against DRS. Okay, I think we're gonna.
And what about who's going to be the key sixth man here? Is it the pit or the greenhouse?
That's a good point. We need everyone there. Everyone pack the pit. We need every single person there that can be loud.
Maybe it's a fitting theme that the whole school's sick right now. We're playing the doctors.
Exactly. Seriously, we need to play the doctors to heal ourselves. Okay. Well, I think any final points you guys want to make? I need the
No,
bathroom.
listen. I think this is. I think people understand the magnitude of this game. I think the fact that it's DRS, I think it adds fuel to the fire. But listen, I'm not going to I won't sugarcoat it. It's a big game on Sunday. You have a chance to make school history, win your first ever varsity championship in school history. And obviously some of the guys are a little under the weather now, but like I said, lucky that it's Wednesday now, and hopefully they just need some rest and drink lots of fluids. And they have one more practice Saturday night, the night before the game. So yeah, looking forward to hopefully what will be a successful event in TABC sports history.
Hopefully. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll hopefully see you there on Wednesday. Afraid to Emporium, if you're listening to this beforehand.
Sunday.
What did I say?
You said Wednesday.
Sunday. See you Sunday. Today is Wednesday. Afraid to Emporium. Have an easy fast. See you there on Sunday. Let's go Storm.
Nope, it's looking good on softball.